Did you know that you have a choice about the stories you are telling yourself and the stories you are believing? Yes. So a little known fact is that we as humans tell ourselves lots and lots and lots of stories, right? There's just this constant repeat playing of stories. And this happens just below our conscious minds, right? So we can't always hear it actively. Now, these stories are going to have everything to do with the reality you're creating, right? It happens for every single one of us. We tell ourselves stories about money, stories about our identity, stories about who we are, stories about what's possible in the world, stories about this person, stories about what that means, stories about what this means. And we box ourselves in, right? So the piece that we're going to flip up in the matrix today is that these stories box us in. These stories are what keep us in limitation, right? So let me ask you a question. Have you ever found yourself totally focused on something that you wanted, right? Maybe you're familiar with manifestation, the law of attraction, the idea that you create your own reality. Great. Most of you that are listening to this are probably going to be familiar with that kind of thought. Those of you that are newer to that may not be ready to hold what I'm sharing today, because it does have to do with taking full responsibility for the reality we're creating, right? But you found yourself like, okay, I want this result. Like, I want to be this weight, or I want this relationship, or I want to make X amount of money in my business, whatever it is, right? And there's this very real part of you that knows and wants and believes that that is possible. But for some reason, you just don't let it in, right? You believe in the law of attraction, you believe in manifestation, you believe in all the witchy woo-woo and creating your own reality and all of that. You read all the books, you took all the courses, but for some reason, you're just not letting it in. Has anybody ever had that experience? Raise your hand, say yes, drop a comment, let me know, right? Because that is what I'm speaking to. I spent years in this push-pull cycle of what I dreamed for myself, what I visioned for myself when it comes to my business, my coaching, my purpose work, doing what I love, the money I wanted to be making, the type of life I wanted to be able to live on my terms. Part of me always knew and wanted that, but there was this other part of me that was so grounded in the story of, can you really have that? Right? And I would look at other people doing it, and I would have this story about how it's possible for them, but not for me. Or I would look at other people and being like, yeah, it gets to be easy for you, but it doesn't get to be easy for me. Right? I had all these stories that were opposite, right? Because they were opposite to what I knew I was on a soul level. They were opposite to the things that I was here to be, do, and have on a soul level, right? So on a soul level, I came to earth to lead, to guide others, to be an ascension mentor, right? To guide people through this crazy purging process of ascension that we're undergoing right now in 2020, right? Many of you are going to relate to this. You were born for this, right? You're empaths, you're starseeds, you're way shows, you're light workers. But what does that mean, right? It means this is the time we incarnated for. It means that it's up to us to start weaving the new stories into the collective human psyche, right? It's up to us to start embodying and living and anchoring in the new stories about what is possible for us as individuals and for us as humanity, right? Which means we have to let go and be willing to dissolve and cut the attachments to our old stories, right? Those ego stories that just want to keep us safe and just want to keep us in limitation and just want to keep us handing our power over to anything outside of ourselves. Why do we do that? Fear. It's known. It's comfortable. It's what we know, right? But I'm telling you now, when we become willing to stop and look at our stories head on, the way you would when you're like, okay, I'm going to clean out my closet. I'm ready to get rid of some clothes. I want to create some space in my house, right? And you go to your closet and you start pulling out clothes that you haven't worn in forever, that you know you're not going to wear. And you chuck it all out and it feels so good, right? We have to do the same things with our stories. We've got to clean house and transmute. And that is what is happening right now on planet Earth, right? There is so much light. We are holding so much light here on the planet that the stories and the things that have kept us anchored in shadow and limitation and darkness are being highlighted. So we have a choice, right? We either get to lean in and look at them so we can continue to transmute them and release them and start creating space to hold new stories, or we can push them away and reject them and not take any responsibility for them. I know what I'm choosing because I know the work that I'm here to do, right? Everything about the work that I'm here to do is about calling in this new earth, right? But what does that mean? Again, what does 5D mean? What does new earth mean, right? It means we become able to hold more of our high frequency soul essence in our physical bodies. To do that, we've got to let go of the stories that are dense, the stories of powerlessness, the stories of divide, the stories of lack, scarcity, all of it, right? And we have to choose instead the radical responsibility of what story am I choosing to tell myself about who I am, about who that person is, and about what we are doing here on planet Earth. What story do I want to tell today? Each and every one of us gets to choose our own path, right? I can't control what story you want to tell yourself, but if you want to tell yourself a new story, I absolutely can help you, right? And that's what the Imaginatrix Codex is all about. And if the idea of telling yourself a new story speaks to you, then I invite you to come and receive the first Imaginatrix Key Code Activation. Go check the link in my bio. It'll take you right to it. My gift to you. It's the first piece of getting humanity ready to start being able to activate and use our imagination to tell a new story, right? How can we create a new earth if we're not even willing to let ourselves imagine it yet? How can we create freedom if we can't even imagine it for ourselves? How can we create harmony and unity if we can't even imagine it for ourselves, if we don't have it within? This is the path. This is the way, right? And if this speaks to you, if this is stirring something in you on a heart and soul level, then I invite you, go now, click the link in my bio, receive the activation, my gift to you, and just begin to let yourself be cracked open to what is possible when you activate and connect with your Imaginatrix guide. I love you all so much. I will see you soon. Go forth, be wildly you, have it all, and have a beautiful day.